Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Finale, and this is Real Estate Talk-TGIF. This is episode, hold on one second. I am a technological genius sometimes, but not always. Anyway, welcome to episode 286. Sometimes I forget the numbers. There's so many of them. And it's 283 weeks in a row we've been doing this great broadcast. Always have great people on. There are realtors on. There's coaches on. There's captains of industry. Wow, I never said that before in this broadcast. And today I am lucky to have Corinne Defilippis from Orlando, Florida, who is, number one, a great story. Number two, a kick-ass realtor down in the Orlando area. And we're going to have some fun with some conversation about building a business, how taking no prisoners is the way to rock and roll. Corinne, thanks so much for coming on today.
No, Dave, I appreciate a fellow New Jerseyan, is what we're going to call having me on today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, truth be told, we're both born in the same hospital. And so were my kids. So, wow, think about that. Anyway, so we're going to get started in 1 minute. Nelson, hit the video.
Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk-TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team.
And we're back. Hey, everybody, I just want you to know that this broadcast is brought to you by njheroesprogram.com. It is a program I do in New Jersey to give back to all types of heroes, be military, law enforcement, fire, EMT, teachers, healthcare professionals, as well as civil and municipal employees and United States Postal Service workers, because I want to give back to the people that serve me when I need them. They're always there for me. Thank God for them. So if you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell in those hero categories, have them reach out to me or to go to njheroesprogram.com. That being said, here we are getting ready to start. Corinne, the realtor, Corinne Defilippis. I have one question before we get started, Corinne.
Yes.
And the question is, what does TGIF stand for?
Thank God it's Friday.
You know what? You're really close. So just so you know that not many people do get it. It's about maybe 5% do get it. The answer is, thank God it's finale.
Got it.
Right. And it's just the way to go. I mean, it's just for you, it could be TGIDF. Thank God it's Defilippis.
Sure.
That came out. Anyway, enough of the comedy. Here we are. Corinne, you've been in the business a few years. You've done really well, but there's a story to where you came from and why you have the mindset that you do. So talk to me about your journey in life to get to being one of the top listing agents in Orlando.
All right. Well, I always like to start my story by talking about childhood, because that's where I truly was given the most amount of obstacles in life. So, like we said, born in Jersey. And when I was 4, I was diagnosed with a very, very rare tumor to the spinal cord. It's called a pilocytic astrocytoma tumor. It is said to be in 1 in a million children. So nowadays I like to call myself 1 in a million and have that be my identity and not my crutch, right? So I actually spent majority of my childhood in hospitals, and I'm very, very grateful for the family support and orientation that I have to get me through that, right? So platelet transfusions, chemotherapy, appendicitis at one point, like just all of these issues growing up. So childhood was definitely different from what you see in movies, but you know what? That's okay, because Dr. Mark Sudane, actually from Manhattan Hospital, was the one that saved my life. And I had 3 surgeries back to back, went through all my treatments. And then ironically enough, in my early 20s, I actually was diagnosed with cancer. So I've had an extreme medical background pretty much my whole life. But again, used it as a way to empower myself and never give up and be very grateful, not as a crutch. So I ended up moving to Florida when I was about 10 years old. And so I'm going to say I'm probably like more of a true Floridian at this point.
Sure.
From up north. I mean, I still love my roots. I think I get my attitude from my New York side up there and Jersey side, but true Floridian, right? So I ended up going to college for something that I didn't end up doing, which for those of you watching this, I did not go to college for real estate. I was actually a criminal justice major, which I like to say we fight crime in real estate. And ironically, again, the same day I got a job was the same day I was diagnosed with cancer, the exact same day, September 1st, 2016. So I was put in a position at that time. What are you going to do, Corinne? Where are you going to go? Are you going to continue to wait for this job? Are you going to do something else? Like, what's going on? So being only 22 years old, it's a lot of weight on your shoulders. You're out of college. You're like, what do I do next? So I ended up actually just applying to like any job. I was just really, really determined to start doing something. So I actually got hired as an insurance agent. And I know that sounds super fun, but it was different. It wasn't something I expected to do, but it really started that skill set of the sales side that I actually didn't know I possessed. So I have no family in real estate. They bought and sold homes, but I'm the first born realtor in the family at this point. And so family was not too thrilled when I was like, I'm going to go be like insurance first. And then at first I was like, I'm going to go into real estate after that. Cause I was 2.5 years in insurance. Actually, to backtrack that's where I started just really getting on the phones, was being in insurance.
Right.
And I was lenders, I was calling realtors. Hey, can I get a chance to quote your insurance? And built my book of business that way. And my boss at the time was like, you'd be such a good realtor. You should just go into the side of the industry. And I was like, all right, cool. Again, I'm 24, 25 years old, and not probably the best time for me to start, being where I was at financially, mindset wise, everything like that. But again, I just kind of, went right into it. So I get my license, I quit my job, and I go straight into real estate. And again, the family was not the happiest. They're like, are we sure we're gonna do this? Is a good idea? You don't have a salary anymore. And I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do great. And I've been in the real estate industry now for 4 years, and I started as a home, auto, and business insurance agent. So on that side of the housing industry. And my start to real estate was definitely, I wouldn't say the sexiest. It wasn't the prettiest. A lot of people, they hear my success and like, oh, you must have had a really great start to real estate, right? And that is by far the complete opposite. I just want to share this story with you real fast. So the first deal I ever did, the listing agent is actually the person I ended up joining after the deal was done. This was the worst possible deal you could have had as like your first deal in real estate. Cause I always like to tell agents, like the first thing we want to get is that belief check, like that we can do this, that this is meant for us.
That's such a great point. That's
a belief check. Yeah.
Yeah.
That check was running from me. And I was chasing it. I was just determined to get it. So I didn't put like a closing date on the contract, and allegedly I didn't put escrow in until 3 days before. I'd show up to the title company and I would say, I'm ready to close. And they're like, Corinne, that's not how this works. We need a package. I'm like, oh, that's great. Where do I get the package from? Do I go to UPS? Do I go to FedEx? Where's this package? And they were like, it's not how it works. And it's funny now. Back then I was like in tears half the time. I was like, what was happening to me? And I ended up finding out the lender that I was working with at the time was, they didn't know what like an FHA loan was. And I'm a new agent. So I'm like, well, I don't either. I expected you to know this. So it was just a hot mess. We were 4 extensions late. But it finally closed. And, like I said, the listing agent, and his name is Gil Ramos, like instead of like getting mad at me and cussing me out, as being on that side, being extremely frustrated, what is this agent doing? They're ruining my deal. He was like, I see you're working hard. Why don't you come ahead and join my team? And I'm going to make sure like you do this. Cause I was about to give up. Like I was about to give up my entire real estate career. My first check wasn't the biggest. I hadn't made income in over 6 months. And I just was like, this probably isn't for me. So I made the decision to join his team. And I've always been on the phone, so I did not stray from the phones and how I generated my business.
Right.
And quickly after that, I just, was put into the right environment, right? I was put into an environment where I was just going to grow the fastest, and I was surrounded by winners. So if you want to win, you just got to be around winners. And from there, I quickly grew into one of the top buyers agents in the office. So my first year after COVID, I did just under $20 million in sales. I think I was at about $18.4 million in sales as a buyer's agent. And people ask, how'd you do all that business? I was just on the phones. And at the time, my 30 to 50 calls a day, 5 days a week. That was my thing.
So you did 30 to 50 calls a day, and you called buyer leads that came in on the team, right? Is that what it was?
Exactly.
Right. So, okay. So I'm going to I'm going to cut you here. We're going to get back to the story. So was it Was it mostly using a certain script? Did you use a script? You did all that business because this is what people watching this are thinking, right? Oh, what script did you use? So I want to give as much information again. So, so what did you do? How were you successful in the connection and the lead conversion?
So best like start intro, because I don't like to say I have scripts. I like to say that I get really curious on the call, but the best intro whenever you're dealing with a lead, like an internet-based lead that had some sort of a reason to, get on this website is, hey, I see you were browsing for properties in the Central Florida area. I'm just curious, are you looking to make a move in the next 3 to 6 months, or are you just browsing right now? Right? That's it.
Beautiful. See, I want everybody to realize that everybody worries about scripts. Everybody gets so excited. Oh, what script should I use? I don't have a script. Oh, this, that, and the other. And here's the other thing, right? I'm a big believer in scripts and dialogues. I'm a big believer in scripts and dialogues and practice, right? Here's the point. If you be yourself and you do practice your scripts and you role play a bit and get through it, just being yourself. And like you said, get really curious.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows feeling and it shows caring. Okay, so I interrupted you.
No.
So you buyer's agent, 18 point some million your first year. Go.
Yeah. So from there, super excited, on top of the world. I bought my first house. I bought my first investment property in Dominican Republic. And I just really felt like, okay, like we're here, we're doing okay. And as everyone knows in real estate, especially these last 4 years in the market, which I like to compare the last 4 years of the market as a roller coaster, where you got like 2020 over here, and then 2021 over there, and then 2022 is going over. Like it just went all over the place. So I empathize with agents who kind of just joined like pre-COVID into it. So let's talk about what happened in 2022. The rates were low and then the rates went up. And what happened there? Just everything slowed down for everyone, right? Just realtors, lenders, title, like everything slowed down. It was a shock. And, it was just like, it was such whiplash. It was so fast, right? It's not like we had a few good years of business and then it went to that. It was 1 year after the other. Once again, business went from that almost $20 million agent down to 10. So my business literally cut in half. Income cut in half.
So I got to ask you this personal question. What was the personal feeling? Were you having doubt? Were you having fear? What was going through your head, and what were you feeling in your soul? I know that sounds like a really weird question, but I have to ask because I know the anxiety feeling. Talk to me about that. To
be vulnerable, I was once again, do I give up now? Do I find something more
Holy
secure?
Shit. Wow.
Is this meant for me? Oh yeah, 100%. I just thinking back, because this was a year ago from now. This wasn't 6-7 years ago. This is a year ago from now where I was at. I was scared. I was calling some of my partners, and my partners know I'm not a crier. I was calling them crying. I'm like, what are we doing? It just was just like, and there's just so much fear on social media and with the news and just kind of going around. I just decided in that moment, I was like, all right, like, I have a big belief in like just faith and praying and just like trying to like know that the right things are going to come, if I just like believe and I let it in. And I was scared. I'm sure a lot of agents were scared too. Like, what is going to happen? We haven't seen this, but whenever there's something different that happens into the market, you pivot, right? So I want to share another story, because this story just kind of goes to show that like, things will always really work out in your favor if you really have like some true intentions behind it.
Right. I just want to say one thing, Corinne, is everybody needs to understand that you started on the phones, in the phones. That's what you do. And you still had this problem because most agents did not start that way. That started over the last 4 to 6 years. So you had an advantage because you had a perfect mindset. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I'm going to be real vulnerable right now. I would say my habits were probably not where they needed to be, even at that $18 million producer. Like, I was starting calls at 9 a.m. I was, like drinking on weekends, just being a typical, like in your 20s, living your best life kind of thing. I'm going to be vulnerable. Was it perfect? And so this is where the change happened. This is where the aha moment came. So I'm actually heading over to Vegas for a conference for the company I'm a part of. And I'm traveling with my business partner, and we always travel together, and we're having this conversation, and he's like, what are we going to do when we land, and what dinner, where do you want to go? And I'm like, well, we land at 8:00. Where should we go at 8:00 at night? And he's like, what do you mean we land at 5? And I'm like, no, book the same flight as you. So if I land at 8, you land at 8. And so I didn't want to admit that we were about to go on 2 separate flights. And so I was really aggravated. I like walked up to the front desk wanting to sue American Airlines. I'm like, how dare you put me on the wrong flight? I'm codependent. I have to travel with someone. This is not how it goes. And again, I'm at that point in my business where business was low. I'm pissed off. I'm mad at the world. Like, I'll be vulnerable. I get like that too, get emotional and stuff like that. And so 3-hour layover, finally get on this flight, and I'm in row 19, and I walk up to the row, and I'm like, there's, you always have that, like, where am I going to sit? Is someone going to be there? And
you're by yourself, right?
I was by myself, which I was not happy about. So I get up to the row, and there's 2 like 6 foot tall plus guys, like one on A, one on C, and I'm supposed to be right at B. So I look at the first guy, and I'm like, do you want to move there? And he's like, no, I'm just going to sit here and then talk over you the whole time. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. So again, before I went on this trip, I had been in that, like, I really want to continue this career. I really want to flourish. I know I can do this. I've already been super successful. I already been a winner in insurance. I already was a winner on one side. What's the next step? And I was actually in the process of either interviewing coaches or hiring finally a virtual assistant, right? That's where I was at.
Right.
So I sit on this flight. I look to the guy to my right, and we just start talking. Yeah, you're going to Vegas for this conference? Yep, I'm going to Vegas from this conference. And he goes, some of you guys might already know him. He goes, my name is Hoss Pratt, and I've coached some of the top 1% of agents in the country. I took 30 listings in 30 days, and here's how I did it. And we're in the sky, so I didn't know if I needed to look like, and thank God, like up to the right, to the left, look down. I was like, thank you. Like, this is why I got on the wrong flight. I was not meant to be on that flight. I know.
Oh, yes, you were.
I was meant to be on that flight, but before I got on the flight, I was not meant to be on that flight. I kept questioning, why is this happening to me? So Hoss and I spoke for 3.5 hours from Dallas to Vegas, and immediately I made a decision. Even though financially I was not in the place to make this decision, I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to hire him, and I'm going to become a top listing agent. So what did that require from that moment? All my habits changed. What time I woke up changed, and who I was prospecting changed. I stopped calling buyers in that moment cold turkey. I got back. I hired him, even though I didn't have the money to do so. But I was like, I'm going to invest in myself, and I'm going to be a top listing agent. So Dave and everyone that's watching, I'm very, very happy and pleased to share with you that the last year has truly been such a transformational year for me, not only mentally, but physically and spiritually as well. I've taken over 40 listings since 2023 has started. And right now I'll probably close out the year, probably right under $23 million in sales in 2023, which is pretty cool. So it was one of the greatest moments of my life. It's been amazing to see what one decision can take you to, that believing in yourself can get you there, manifesting, writing things down. And when I say habits changed, I'm waking up at 5:30 every morning. I'm journaling more. I'm reading more books. I'm listening to more podcasts. I'm being intentional with who I'm surrounding myself with. I'm being intentional of what I consume in my body, right? Like, everything had to change for this to happen. And it's just no coincidence that this is where I'm at now. And I'm still continuing to grow into this. And I am most likely, because of course we're still in December, going to close out as the #1 agent in my office out of 500 agents in Orlando, Florida.
Congratulations. I want to say that, it's a really one of the great things about this broadcast, that I get to talk to people like you. And see, one of the things that you have that I've always wanted to work with, that's why I sold my brokerage. I wanted to work with people that wanted to work. I didn't want to work with people that I had. You want to work. You've got the passion, right? And interestingly enough, you were introduced to me by Hoss Pratt, right? So Hoss has been on the broadcast a couple of times. I can't say that we're friends because we don't talk and see each other all the time, but we are kind of friends. And we've seen each other at EXPCon and stuff. But Hoss is a great guy, and truly, one of the magicians in this business because he's able to help a lot of people that didn't think they could do it. Right. I've given out his book more times than I can remember, The Listing Boss, and Hoss is just a great human being. Would you agree with that? Right. This is Hoss time right now.
1,000%. And I mean, the thing about real estate is so many people are so fixated with just kind of trying to do this alone. And I've always had the belief on whose hands can I hold through this process. And so I'm very fortunate to have two phenomenal mentors like Gil and like Hoss that are still continuing to mentor me till this day. And it's really not a coincidence on where I'm at.
So I want to talk to you about a couple of things here. Is you say you've made a lot of changes, and I call it what you do in the morning and everything is your ritual. What you do, you get up at a certain time, you work out, you read, you journal, you're listening to podcasts, etc. You said that I'm not sure what you called it, but I would call it being a professional. Okay. That's one of the things I call it, because these are certain things that we need to do to keep our mind straight. Now, granted, there are people that don't do this that do very, very well. Yeah. There are people that don't do this. I mean, and I'm going to say that they might be fortunate, or they might also be unfortunate, because, they haven't had the trials and tribulations that others have had that have had to grow, and they've grown in different ways. But one of the things that you've been able to do is you've been able to see this and, forgive me, at a young age, to see what you need to do, because I realized myself that I really didn't start to grow up a lot in business until I was in my early 30s. Okay. So, and I've been in this business a very long time. I've been in this business parts of 6 decades, right? I'm not a million years old, but I'm close, right? But the point I'm making is that your journey and where you started and the changes you made are really what can help most agents, because what I see in my business, what I see over the last 40 years plus, is that people come in and they think it's going to be a little bit easy to get into it, right? And in our conversation the other day, we talked about motivation. We talked about different things. What drives you? Why is it easier for you to be on the phones? Why do you do that? So talk to me. I mean, you had Gil come in. He was the listing agent on your first deal, and that's where that started, in meeting Hoss. And you use a lot of the things you learned from Gil, you learned from Hoss, etc. Talk to me about your transition from, the worry and the fear and the doubt of 10 million. People would kill for that in my area, right? To being the top agent on your team, in your group of the 500 agents. Talk to me your transition. What did you go through? What did you feel? And was there fear involved? Was there doubt involved? Because that's something that everybody sees. That's the ones I'm working with.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And it kind of brings me back, because it really was just a year ago from now. So I cannot believe how much has changed. And so thinking back to Corinne exactly 1 year ago, where I was at, like I said, mentally, physically, and spiritually, I'm not going to say I was in the best place. I'm not going to say I was in the worst place, because I think I've been through worse, right? So I always think to myself, I've been through worse and I made it. I know I can do this right now, right? And there's a good chance that in the future I might go through something worse than the worst, right? We're always going to have life kind of slap us in the face. My favorite quote I like to say is, when you're about to get to that new level, the devils come out. New levels, new devils, right? So the thing with habits is that it really just starts one day at a time. And I know that sounds super cliche, but I was not that person that woke up early. But of course, my coach advised me, most successful people actually, ironically, all wake up before 6 a.m. Okay, well, I want to implement the same things. I'm going to just copy what successful people did. So I just started doing that. And being 29 years old, currently don't have kids, I understand, and everyone has a different schedule in the morning. I decided that I want to go work out, right? I want to do the things I don't want to do the most first. Like things that I would put, if I did it later in the day, I'd probably make an excuse not to do it and push it off, right? So that high leverage activity, what do we do first? And for me, it's my workout, and for me, it's my calls. So once I got that perfect schedule right there, and we could talk more about that because I'm sure people like to hear this, then it all kind of clicked. Okay, like I got the routine, I got the schedule, I know who I'm calling, I know what systems I'm using, I know what books I'm reading, like I know what I'm doing day in and day out. I don't have to question it more. And that gave me a lot of clarity. I think if you wake up not knowing what you're doing, you're going to just be flustered and struggle, and you're going to like spend 30 minutes wondering, what should I do next? Right.
Right. So would you consider that one of the things I try to push newer agents especially is if you're calendared, you're going to have a much easier time.
Oh, 100%. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. So being a realtor here, I've also been coaching people too. And what I tell them is that we always reverse engineer their goals. If someone's got a goal to do 40 listings in 1 year, I already know like the trials, the tribulations, the formula to get them there. We break it down to how many calls they're making a day. We break it down to how many calls a week they're doing it. We break it down to how many appointments they're setting per week. We break it down to how many pendings they should be getting per month to then get to the end of the year, right? It's all reverse engineering the process, but you have the time block and you actually take action. Because I tell people, stop worrying about the outcome. Like, we can't predict the future or the outcome, but I can already tell you, if you do these actions, the outcome will come. Action first, then outcome, right? So in that, to better answer your question, yes, there was fear. Yes, there was that feeling of, can I do this and stuff? But now that I just kind of like slap myself into a different, not a financial decision, but a financial decision to invest in myself. Like, I wanted to profit from my investment as a coach. So now every single year, I actually reinvest basically the same amount of money, just into a different aspect of myself. I do believe in that. You should always invest into yourself once a year. And tax write-offs are a thing. So I think everyone should have some tax write-offs. I'm not an accountant, but let's be real. I tell my clients this, I'm like, if you're going to make a lot of money in this industry, because you don't have a cap with real estate, you truly can do whatever you want to do for as long as you want to do it. Then you got to remember, Uncle Sam comes for you. So let's just start getting these write-offs and things like that. And you learn that over time. But the fear was relieved when I started taking action. The worriness about, can I do this, was taken away when I started taking action. When I had that perfect schedule, I had a lot of clarity, and I just did that day in and day out. And I also am a big believer in writing things down. So I write down in a journal every day, I am a top listing agent. I am a top coach. I attract, I do not chase. I write these things down. And again, people don't have to take what I did and copy it. But again, stop trying to reinvent the wheel. If someone already did something and they were successful with it, you copy the same thing. The chances of it happening to you are very, very large, right? So yeah, that was definitely the turning point and that aha click for me.
So, you basically talked about, your schedule, your calendar, what you do every day, and that you make the calls. Okay. Mm-hmm. I will always harp on this because I know what call reluctance feels like. I know how it is. So when we talk about call reluctance, it's all related to fear. It's all related to rejection. Is it based on you're not having that call reluctance? Do you think that's based on your past and always having to fight? Or is it just something you said, well, this is what I was told I have to do, so this is what I got to do?
Yeah. Well, in today's world, of course, the answer would be yes. I do believe my experience in insurance helped me with my experience in real estate. But let's go back to the experience in insurance. I was not a salesperson then. I did not know anything about insurance until I got into insurance. Therefore, I didn't know anything about real estate until I got into real estate. So I believe if you're a winner in one thing, you could be a winner in another thing. And also, I believe what you're telling yourself matters. So if you're on the phones and you're telling yourself, don't answer, chances of someone not answering are going to be very, very high. So what you're telling yourself and your belief in yourself and your confidence in yourself really, really matters. That's where the personal development side of this business is so important, because you cannot do well in your business if you mentally are not doing well personally. So we got to constantly, as entrepreneurs, work on our personal development like it's a muscle. So if I'm a brand new agent, I've never made a call in my life, I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm like, what the heck do I talk about? I mean, it really is going to come down to, do you want, like, you have to know your purpose, right? So I always tell my clients, I'm like, let's just draw a car, a hypothetical car real quick. And I encourage anyone watching this to kind of drive the same car. So the car to me is a vehicle. So real estate is the vehicle that we're in. And so I always tell people, let's hypothetically draw the fuel, and let's it's a gas car, right? Because I know we're electric. But let's hypothetically draw the fuel as things you've been through in the past, whether it's been divorce, death, whether it's been just bullies or whatever you've been through growing up. There's no levels to just defeats that we've had or failures we've had. Let's let those failures be the fuel, and then let's drive in the direction, and let's put at the end what we're driving towards, which is our future self and our purpose. And I tell people, keep that image right in front of you. Therefore, when you're scared to make that call, when you're scared to like have that fear of rejection, you will remind yourself, I believe things need to be visual. And I always like to also say the R in real estate stands for rejection. I love rejection. I think rejection is fun.
Come on, you love rejection.
I think it's fun. I'm just kind of like, all right, reject me. Like, I do not care, because I've just grown this confidence that I know who I'm meant to help. There will be no rejection. Who I'm not meant to help, the rejection comes. And that means I'm one step closer to the person that I'm meant to help. So that shifted mindset is so important. So again, we're taking it down to the foundation, the mindset, the foundation, the watering the seed. And then we're going to get that confidence up to be able to take on the facts and stuff of real estate. Like I tell new agents, I'm like, I think you should go out and like fail, like F up all your calls, F up. The more you F up, because I don't want to cuss too much on here, Dave.
That's okay. I'm about to in a second. So go ahead.
The more you kind of screw up, the more you learn, to be honest. It's kind of like, let's take it back to childhood when we all were babies and we couldn't walk. You got up, you fell. What'd you do? You got up again, you fell again. And at one point you started just continuing to walk. It sounds cliche, but it's like, you want this or do you not? It really comes down to that. I know that might sound like a little harsh, but it's the truth. And so when we draw the visual, when we realize rejection is part of this business, when we realize that we are in the business of helping people with one of the greatest types of things you can sell a person, which is a home, a roof over their head, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So here's a couple of things, right? So you talked about, the different parameters, that it's a numbers game. So I want to tell you, I want to submit to you and everybody else that might be watching this, that it is literally a numbers game. And you said, how many calls you make and how many this are you doing, how many contacts you make, et cetera, et cetera. I want everybody to understand though, that this is not something that if you do it 1 week, you're going to have a number where how many calls you have to make to get a listing, how many calls you have to make to get an appointment. This is, for me, I always feel it's at least 90 days of consistent action to get there. And what happens when you figure out those numbers? Well, when you get to 90 days, geez, you're pretty good at this shit and you're going to keep going, right? Mm-hmm. What are the categories that we use when we do masterminds, and we bring in agents and we all make calls and I coach them through the calls and stuff. So we have number of dials, contacts, appointments, leads, and fuck yous. Right. So we want to know, if you get a fuck you, everybody gets all excited because you did your job. That's the way we look at it. Because look, I mean, there's a lot of New Jersey people down by you, but there's more New Jersey people here in New Jersey. Yeah. So we say a lot of fuck you. So it's been really cool that, and talk to me a little bit about how you've looked at, do you actually keep track of all your numbers and how do you do that?
Absolutely. So the second I hired Hoss, he was telling me about this amazing tool called RedX, which I wish people knew more about, but I was like, what the heck is RedX? He's like, this is where you can get lists of leads to call daily. I was like, oh, why didn't anyone tell me about this sooner? So that's the system that I use, which of course, love systems. I don't believe we're in the Stone Age and we should try to write everything down, but it tracks your calls. So my magic number, because I mentioned buyers, I did 30 to 50 calls a day. That's where I knew in order for me to get an appointment or speak to a consumer, that was my number. But right now with RedX, utilizing a dialer that's in the system there, I'm calling about 200 people a day, 5 days a week. And my goal is to set a listing appointment per day and
So that's 200 dials a day. Are you talking to 30 people a day?
No, to be honest, because we're going to be honest here. Sometimes with that 200 people, I might be talking to like 1 to 5 people, just being very transparent. But I know that 200, as I continue to grow into this, that number might go down, gets me to my 1 listing appointment per day. And that's how I figured out my numbers for my market in my area at this current time.
So if I said to you, Corinne, you need to get a listing in 7 days, what do you have to do?
I would be on the phones 9 to noon, calling 200 people a day in 7 days. And just to give you guys some perspective, I think I took my first listing appointment, ironically, within 7 days of doing this. So it's not like everyone's probably like, oh, that took you 90 days to get all these listings. No, I took my first listing within 2 weeks, believe it or not, with doing this.
Right. And this is, and when we used our friend earlier, his name, we're using it again, Hoss Pratt. This is what Hoss did. Hoss was going crazy for 6 months, didn't do a lick of business, and said, okay, I know what I got to do now. I've got to do this. And then he got 30 listings in 30 days. And there's no shit. That's the truth. And he's great guy. Anyway, so you know your numbers, you know how to do it. And one of the things you said, not this way, but I'm going to say it again, because my coach always tells me this. He says, you have to really love the process. You have to stay in the process. And once you're working the process, the results are going to come. Right. So, and that's really important. So you've been coached, and a lot of people will say, well, I don't have the money for that. I don't have this. And you mentioned earlier, you didn't either. How did you get around that?
You gotta love credit cards.
Yeah.
I get it, but like I've learned that credit cards, if used right, are a great tool for your business, just because I forgot what it's like to get a paycheck. Like I forgot that feeling of stability. But the thing about this industry, it's pros and cons. So when you have a stable job, you're capped at an income. When you have an unstable job, you have multitude. You could do, there's no cap. You can do as much income as you want. So I've loved being and building as an entrepreneur. But you know what? We got business expenses. We got write-offs. This is a business. So yeah, it went on a credit card. And I'm very happy to say I've made probably like 40 times what my investment was, but that's really what investing in yourself is it's to get you to that level. I know for a fact, if I did not invest in myself and make that decision to believe in myself, I would not be here today. And I can say that as 100% fact.
So if you were going to be a brand new agent again, and you're coaching people, you say, right? You told us, right? And you said a few things that are really, really important to me is, you've got to make the calls. You've got to get really, really curious on the call. When we're talking about, let's talk about this, because we talked about this briefly the other day, expireds, right? What is your main point when you're talking to an expired listing, a listing that expired on the phone? What does your curiosity sound like?
Why didn't this property sell? And then
they get pissed off at you and yell at you and hang up on you?
No, because then they usually go, I don't know either. So we're just trying to figure this out together. Like, why did this not happen? Like, we had a goal. We wanted to do this already. Why are we here? And that's what I really dig deeper on the calls. Like, why are you trying to sell? And did you have showings? Did you have feedback? Did you have offers? How do you feel you were priced for the market? And the biggest reason, why the hell are you selling your home in the first place? Because if I know where you're at and where you want to go, I could be the doctor and kind of bridge that gap for you, right? So that's really the intention behind speaking to an expired listing. And that's why I love this system so much with RedX, because it gives me access to expired listings, for sale by owner, pre-foreclosure, for rent by owner. There's just so many different listing opportunities besides the one we all love, which is a good old fashioned referral, right? And we just want to take as many listings as possible. And another fact I really want to emphasize on this call, Dave, is that I do truly believe in the season as realtors, we have to stop being passive agents. I believe as a business, you need to be 80% proactive and 20% passive. What's the difference between a proactive lead generator and a passive lead generator? So when I coach people, if they tell me they want to become a TikTok star, I'm going to kindly decline coaching them. And we were just talking about this earlier. I am not generating business from social media at all. Could I? Sure. Do I want to do it in the future? Yes. But I know what I'm good at, and I do what I do best, and I delegate the rest, right? So proactive lead generation to me is outbound prospecting. It's open houses. It's door knocking. And if you want to get passive, mailers, social media, websites, call to action, SEO, that's the difference. So once you get down to that, okay, I'm going to be 80% proactive, whether I'm going to be doing 5 open houses a week or...
Oh, you froze. You still there? Shit. Okay, you still there, Corinne?
Are we back?
I can hear you. Oh, yeah, we go. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Must be me. Anyways,
Technology. It's probably technology.
think.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just how you got to formulate the business is you need to just really, as if you want to go into 2024 and win, which I'm super excited for 2024. I feel like this is going to be a repeat possibility of everyone's best year if they take advantage of stop waiting for the phone to ring. I don't know about you, but I get anxiety waiting for my phone to ring. Do I want that to happen? Yes. Do I think agents who have that happen daily for them are lucky and I would take advantage of that too? Yes. But I want to go out and take control of the business and the closings that I have. That goes back to the action part and why being proactive is super important.
Right. And here's the important part, right? So being proactive and making the calls is I mean, look, I had a brokerage for 21 years. And my job in the beginning was to make the phones ring, right? As time went on, I was one of the first people that I knew that did Google AdWords. I was paying 2, 3, 4, 5 cents a click on a major term, like buying a home in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, or Hackensack, New Jersey. That was only 3, 4, 5 cents back then. We're talking about 2000, 2001, right? Now that's probably like $5 to $10 or $20 a click a hit, right? And still, I got the leads suck. The phones aren't ringing because they're going here or that. You know what? If you're waiting for a phone to ring, I think you should like become a telemarketer or just go somewhere for customer service because that's where you belong. And I don't say that to be nasty. I don't say that to be an asshole. But the thing is that you've got to go after and build the process and go from there and actually make the phones ring yourself. Now, you're saying that 24 is going to be, 21, 22 all over again, have your best year ever again. Why do you think that, Corinne?
I just think that we've been like kind of greased up for it, right? I do truly believe whenever people have their winters in their business, like the summer and the spring and summer come right out after. Like we've seen it time and time again where we all were like, what the heck's going on? We can't go outside in 2020. Of course, market changes, rates dropped, demand went up for buyers, stuff like that. And everyone's best year in 2021 was because, just the market changes. So for the people who were no longer just having the phones ring constantly, or they had to take a look, reevaluate their business and go, how can I make my business continue to grow regardless of what's going on with the market? They actually sat down and set up a plan. They got intentional. They made changes. They realized they had to be proactive. They started just getting like repeating a fundamental process of things, doing dollar productive activity daily and things that work. So right now we're kind of like greasing the wheel and people are about to get on their bike and just start going off because all the fundamentals and things have been set up. All the pillars of success have been set up. And of course, with market changes coming, we should have the spring and summer finally coming too. So I'm definitely super, super excited.
Yeah. And I'm really excited too, because as I get older, I'm enjoying it more, being more on my own and stuff. And one of the things that I believe is that, I came into the business where interest rates were 18 to 20%. I've seen high rates. I've seen the low rates as everybody else has recently. But when I tell this story really quickly is when I built my first house for myself and I had to get a construction takeout loan to take care of that. Right. I was so excited in 92 to get a 7.5% interest rate. I mean, people don't understand that. To me, I mean, and it was the bank I did business with. I didn't expect that good a rate, but I did. So I want everybody to understand that no matter what the interest rate, if you want to do business, people are still going to buy and sell homes. We just need to understand. And you said it briefly earlier, really quickly before. Why are you even selling your house? Do you really need to sell your house? Do you really want to sell the house? What's the reason you sell a house? This is part of the curiosity coming out, right? That you really, really, really need to have, right? And like you said, draw the visual out. It's a numbers game and do the work. Now, I just want to get a little technical real quick. You said we talked about the Red X and it's been very successful for you. But is any other system a good system to use, or is it any system that you use?
So I know there's Red X and there's Vulcan 7. Those are the only two I've had personal experience using. I think another one's called Land Voice. I think that's
There's
what
Land Voice, there's Espresso Agent. Yeah.
there's a few different ones. I personally just looked at where majority of my listings came from, and it came from Red X. And so that has been a system that when you find something that works, you stick with it. So that's been the
Right.
system that I've stuck with, the system that I
Right.
advise my coaching clients to use and seeing the results from them. And then stay very, very consistent with the system. We have to leverage and delegate in this industry. We can't do everything ourselves. And that's where I'm getting to that next level in my business. Okay, how do I become a $50 million a year producer? And that would involve more systems in place, more delegation tasks, different numbers and stuff like that. But again, I already reverse engineered that. So if I'm a new agent, or I'm an agent that's kind of stuck, or their business went down, again, it's taking it back to the basics. It really, really is. But yeah, that's the system that I've had the most success in.
So do you think as time goes on in your business, okay, so you've gone from a top buyer's agent now to a top listing agent, the future for you next year, 2 years, 5 years, is that to continue to be that top listing agent? What's you see as the next step for you and a natural progression?
Personally, what I see it actually going two routes. I see like some version of like a team being built, or I see me having like a team under me for complete delegation, but I'm still the face of the name, right? I one day want to have a family. I one day want to travel to Europe. Like I one day want to do these things that might involve me not being like super hands-on in my business or having a book of business to sell. So right now I'm in that process of really being intentional on building that book of businesses if I wanted to sell it. And honestly, I want to continue to really grow my name and brand more into the luxury market, working more with developments, working more with builders. I've built up the pipeline for that. And I love working with sellers, I really do. But you know what? I love working with anyone with good energy, right? Like how you mentioned,
Yes,
you want to
yes.
work with people who want to work. I do not care at this point in my business what price point you're at. If you're a first time home buyer and stuff, you got good energy and you have a goal you're looking to reach, and I can help, again, be the doctor, bridge the gap. That's kind of where I'm at. So I'm definitely super excited to see what happens in the next few years. Just to give some perspective for people on here. I mean, my first 4 years of real estate, I was very fortunate enough to be able to do just under $60 million in sales, where 90+% of I'm going to say 90% of my business came from being on the phones and just doing the work. And I'm super, super grateful and excited for the people who've been a part of my journey and are continuing to be a part of my journey, because this industry, again, is a vehicle, and the people's whose lives you get to impact, you get to change just so many people's lives. I think that's another reason where people have this call reluctantness. They think they're being salesy, or they're gonna like bother someone. And I'm over here like, I'm going to change someone's life. Like someone didn't know that they needed me. Just like when I went on that airplane, I didn't know I needed Hoss. Or when my buyer picked that house that happened to be Gil Ramos's listing, I didn't know at the time I needed them, right? So I'm that person on the other line saying they don't know that they need me, and I'm about to change their life. And it comes off very authentic. And then from there, I just continue that same cycle. And we're in the business of changing lives and serving people at a higher level. That's what we do.
That's fantastic. This has been really cool. I mean, the energy is what I look for, and we basically have the same thought process where we want to work with people that want to work. We want to work with passionate people. We want to work with people that are going to say, "Hey, man, good. Let's go. Do another, like in the gym, right? Do another rep. Go ahead, do another one. You can do another one. Let's go heavier." Those are the kind of people that excite me. And when I go to the gym, it's like, I can't go there and go through the motions. It's like I'm looking forward to the first week in January and to see all the new people coming to the gym, because this way I get to meet new people, because I know they'll be gone in a couple of weeks, and hopefully I'll get some business out of it. But you know what I mean? I mean, it's just, I'm not them. I'm going to keep pushing. And that's one of the things that you do. And it's just, I mean, you're really passionate about what you do. And I want to tell you that I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you do and how you do it. We're at the end of this broadcast, and I've been doing this, as I said earlier, for 283 weeks in a row. And it's always fun. I always have fun to do this and make sure I got people coming on. I've had great people, and you've added to this lineup. And I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart and my passion itself for coming on my broadcast today.
No, I appreciate you so much for having me. And if someone came on to this broadcast with the intention, like, I want my life to change, I just need to hear something, I hope this was it. And just like Dave, I said, the R in real estate stands for rejection. The S in success stands for struggle to me, right? And I think most successful people have had serious struggles. I bet you for a fact, every person you've had on this call that has grown the success that they've grown, they had some struggles, and they use that as the fuel. So I encourage everyone watching this to draw that vehicle on a piece of paper today and write down your goals for 2024 as if 2024 started tomorrow. So thank you so much for having me on here today. I really appreciate it, Dave.
I want to thank you so much again, and just say, everybody, that your contact information is on the screen right now at Corinne the Realtor, and your email address, your website, and your contact number is there. And just briefly, really quickly, next week we have another story coming on with Kyle Kovacs, who is just a breath of fresh air. Another great guy. He's a New Jersey guy. His family had a real estate school and still does, and that's where I got my license from, even in the beginning. So I want to thank Kyle for getting ready for being on with us next week. And again, I have two things really quickly, Corinne. Number one, how do I help you grow your business?
Well, I guess if anyone is in the business where they know someone wants to come down to Orlando and buy or sell our house, you got someone here you can reach out to if you are a realtor. And if you are a realtor looking to get more information on the systems that I use, the coaching that I do, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I'm very, very excited to share, especially if your back's up against the wall right now. You're like, what do I do next? Let's definitely break that down and talk about it and see how we could start 2024 now. But Dave, you having me on here contributes to my purpose, which is to make 1 million people financially free. And awesome. I know to do that, I got to be on social media and on these podcast stages and sharing my story. So thank you for allowing me to do that.
Well, I can help you with all of that. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, but I want to thank you for coming on. And I know we have a mutual friend, Hoss Pratt, and I know you found out about the hat and you wanted to come on and get your hat, because Hoss, I think, has 2 now. So, and I'm trying to get him on for the third one. So you got to push him. I got dates waiting for him to respond me.
I'm gonna push him, and I want my damn hat, Dave. I want my hat. It's coming. I want to thank everybody for coming on. It is December 1st. It is rabbit, everybody. Let's have a great month. We've got the holidays are getting into bloom. We're all excited. I'm excited. Corinne, thank you so much. Tune in next week. If you just stay on 1 second as we go off, Corinne, thanks so much. And we'll see everybody next week with Kyle Kovacs. Hit it, Nelson. Thank you. Oh, we're still live. I didn't end it. Hold on. Sorry, everybody.